Ferruccio Lamborghini created one of the world's best-known brands. But how did he make Lamborghini the car company we know today? What were the choices that had to be made during the most difficult times? And most importantly, why did he have to relinquish control of the company in '72? To trace Ferruccio's extraordinary career, stay with us. This is All in Finance. Ferruccio Lamborghini was born in Renazzo, Italy on April 28, 1916, under the sign of the bull, obviously. His parents had land in Emilia-Romagna and were involved in agriculture and animal husbandry. Ferruccio, however, was more interested in mechanics than in the family farming tradition. So after finishing elementary school, he was enrolled in the Mechanical Training Institute. In the meantime, he began working as an apprentice in a blacksmith store. Thanks to the apprenticeship in 1934, he managed to find work in Bologna in the Righi workshop. He earned 60 liras a month, about 60 euro today. Immediately after his apprenticeship, Ferruccio opened his first workshop in Renazzo with a friend of his, which however lasted only a few years because Italy entered the war, and in 1939 he was called up by the army and sent to Greece. Given his extraordinary skills as a mechanic, he made himself indispensable in repairing army vehicles. He learned how to recover cars and vans destined for scrapping. This skill would come in very handy in the following years. Back home in the summer of 1946, after being a prisoner of war, he opened a new small repair shop. At the end of the year, Ferruccio, after being commissioned by his father to build a tractor for his countryside, decided to turn his small workshop into a real car-building plant. Thus, in 1948, he formed a company with 3 other mechanics, with a capital of 2 million liras, about 43,000 euro today. He thus founded Lamborghini Tractors. Their business model was to take advantage of Ferruccio's experience made under the military, to produce quality tractors that could lift Italian agriculture after the disastrous Second World War. They began the recovery of truck engines and axles abandoned during the war. The newly formed government of the Italian Republic had to get rid of all the vehicles that had been damaged. Ferruccio obviously did not miss the opportunity, and so through the purchase of parts, and built the first tractor, the Carioca, which was immediately very popular because it could start on gasoline, which at the time was very expensive and always scarce, and then run on diesel. After founding the Lamborghini Tractors, he also decided to participate in the Mille Miglia, the most famous race between sports cars in Italy. Ferruccio modified a Fiat Barchetta Sport to participate, eventually ended up crashing, and decided that for some time it would no longer be the case to race, but with the money from the tractors that was getting better and better, with hundreds of models sold to Italian farmers every year, the passion for sports cars returned. At one point, Ferruccio owned as many as 2 Ferraris as well as a 250 GT. At the time, for those in the area, races were held on the Bologna-Florence road. All it took was a glance, a smile, and the race started. The loser then paid a coffee to the winner. In these races, however, the clutch of the Ferraris could not handle the vibrations of the car. Ferruccio, after yet another failure, decided to disassemble it and see how it worked. Seeing that the Ferrari clutch was similar to that of his tractors, he then decided to replace it with one of his own. He noticed that for a clutch that cost him 10, Ferrari increased the cost of repair to 1,000. Lamborghini then, with this idea, went to Enzo Ferrari to advise him on the modification. Enzo Ferrari did not take it well and told him, "You are the one who cannot drive my cars, go back to driving your tractors." Ferruccio, infuriated, went home from Ferrari's Maranello headquarters. In the evening at dinner, his son Tonino later recounted, he said, "I make 52 tractors a day, now I'm going to get on it and make a car." Ferruccio's wife, who controlled production and accounting, said, "But why spend all this money? It's just a bad day." The banks were against it. The collaborators were against it. They asked him, "Why don't we keep doing what we've always done? It's a difficult world. There's cutthroat competition, there's Ferrari, there's Maserati." But he, undaunted, insisted and said, "Let's take 1 billion liras that we use for the road signs of Lamborghini tractors and transfer them on the creation of a new factory." So in 1963, in Sant'Agata Bolognese, he founded his second company, Automobili Ferruccio Lamborghini. He summoned Corrado Carpigiani, his commercial director, and with him he set up a selection of technical experts. Bizzarini, designer of engines for Ferrari from 1957 to 1961, created a 12-cylinder capable of surpassing in displacement and power that produced by Ferrari. With 11 million liras, he bought a 20,000 square meters plot of land in Sant'Agata Bolognese, where in 5 months a factory was completed and opened on October 26, 1963. He had in mind a modern factory built on the experience he had gained in his other companies. He wanted to leverage his expertise to build an unrivaled production process. The structure was based on a very well-lit central building and management administrative offices next to it, so executives could constantly monitor production. An ideal condition for Lamborghini, who loved to roll up his sleeves to go to work on cars himself, especially when he saw someone in trouble. He would show him how it was done, how he wanted to see it. Ferruccio gave precise directions on everything: the height, the technical specifications, the materials. He also focused on the symbol. He wanted something to compete with Ferrari's prancing horse. So he chose the bull. A proud and powerful animal, he said. I want a logo that is powerful and makes the Ferrari horse look bad. A logo with attributes. At the Turin Motor Show in November 1963, the first car, the 350 GTV, was unveiled. Ferruccio thus showed the world the first work of Lamborghini automobiles, which, however, turned out to be a failure. Even the car later produced, the 350 GP, did not have great luck, and in 1965, although there were orders, the company was not doing very well. Lamborghini was on the verge of closing the plant, when at a certain point some designers presented him with a project for an innovative car with a rear engine. This time at the Turin Motor Show, a chassis and engine were shown that received great attention. Approached Nuccio Bertone, design expert who had already designed cars of Fiat and Alfa Romeo. He asked to design the new car, and Ferruccio was happy to accept the proposal. The new out-of-series was shown in the spring of '66 at the Geneva Motor Show, and in fall at the Paris Motor Show. The public consensus was great. The orders started, the Miura, the jewel of Lamborghini, was officially born, so all the world began to notice the new house of the bull. Up to 1973, in just 7 years, 764 examples of Miura were produced, a key achievement for the company. After the Miura came also the Islero, the Espada, the Jarama, the Urago, and the much more famous Countach. In short, everything seemed to be going smoothly for the now-established automaker. Yes, because although the Lamborghini empire consisted of burners, heaters, tractors, luxury cars, at some point the unpredictable happened. In fact, at the beginning of the 1970s, Lamborghini tractors exported half of its production abroad. It even had orders with the governments of South America, in particular with Bolivia, which ordered 5,000 pieces from it. The agreement established, Lamborghini contracted debt to buy what was needed for production, an assembly line was set in motion, and tractors were brought to Genoa to be shipped. But it didn't work out that way. A coup d'etat changed the Bolivian political government. The new government canceled the order without warning, and Trattori Lamborghini found itself with an order placed, but not paid. Ferruccio's creditors make their presence felt. The crisis is upon us, and the company is in his name personally, so he has to pay its debts. He decides to sell the warehouses to Fiat. Initially, he seems to find a way out, but the oil crisis of the 1970s flares up, so orders for luxury cars also begin to drop dramatically. Ferruccio, unfortunately, remains in debt and has to make an impossible choice. He decides to sell the company, Automobili Lamborghini. First, he sells 51% to Jorge Rossetti, a Swiss friend, for $600,000. A year later, he has to sell also the rest to Ren Leimer, a friend of Rossetti. Unfortunately, even that will not be enough. In fact, he had to sell Lamborghini tractors to SAME. It is the end of a dream. Lamborghini then decides to retire and go into retirement, buys an estate on Lake Trasimeno in Umbria, devotes himself to wine, the land, and continues to enjoy his family still for many years, until 1993, when he passes away. But how did Lamborghini become the automaker we know today after the farewell of its founder? Well, the company sailed in bad waters for quite some time after the sale by Ferruccio. As already mentioned, Ferruccio did everything he could to save the company, but the ill-fated Bolivian deal, mixed with the energy crisis of those years, brought with it a financial crisis that was difficult to manage. After the sale in 1972, the company was in the hands of Rossetti and Leimer, who managed it for 5 years, causing it to go bankrupt. The company was then put into receivership by the Italian government from 1977 to 1984. In 1984, the Merman brothers bought full ownership from the Italian state and invested heavily in its expansion. The company, thanks to new production strategies and a new flow of capital, began a revival that led to new innovative development projects, such as engines, SUVs, old lines that were still in demand, and new lines that even a very young Horacio Pagani worked on, such as the Countach Evoluzione. Like a bolt out of the blue, however, in 1987, the Merman brothers sold the company to the American Chrysler, which hymned enthusiasm on the automotive scene, but soon turned out to be a failure. In fact, Chrysler wanted to move its technical and styling studies overseas, which made developments very slow and mistimed the presentations of new cars. In 1994, Chrysler unexpectedly announced the sale of the company to Indonesian Megatech, a subdivision of the Sedeco conglomerate. The new owner proved to be dry on investment and inexperienced on running a luxury car company. So in 1995, the company was restructured and split into other small companies. In 1998, Lamborghini was finally bought by the Audi Group, a manufacturer experienced enough to provide the Bolognese company with a proper business plan. And thanks to the right set of strategic choices put in place by the Audi Group that today, Lamborghini can boast cars of the caliber of the Murcielago, the Gallardo, the Veneno, the Aventador, and the famous Huracan. As of today, May 2023, the new 1,000-plus horsepower hybrid supercar Revuelto has just been unveiled, throwing open doors of electric motor supercars. There would be 1,000 other stories about Ferruccio's genius, from the legendary negotiation with Mr. Pirelli, who wanted him to pay a raise on tires, to the maniacal cleanliness of the workplace, the freedom of maneuver he allowed his employees, to the simplicity of a man of yesteryear who did not look for turns of phrase to make himself understood. Even today, after several years, his engineers and employees tell how Ferruccio was the brains, and at the same time the heart of the company, and how heartbreaking it was for him to have to sell what he had created. Urban legends tell how he, over the years, had tried to buy back the company, but promptly, they tried to make him pay handsomely, knowing of his attachment, and in fact, he never agreed. In the last years of his life, Ferruccio, in absolute discretion, devoted himself for the last time to motors, starting a small production of electric vehicles for golf courses, and secretly provided his advice to the reborn Bugatti. In conclusion, Ferruccio Lamborghini was a visionary entrepreneur who left an indelible mark on the automotive industry. His unwavering dedication to excellence and his relentless pursuit of innovation revolutionized the world of sports cars, and his legacy continues to inspire generations of engineers, designers, and car enthusiasts alike. As we celebrate his life and achievements, we honor his spirit of determination, creativity, and passion, and we strive to follow in our way his footsteps.